This is Beyond a Reasonable Doubt with your hosts, Mark Geragos and Gary Smith.
Welcome. And we've got, now he's becoming a regular return guest, my associate in New York, Dan Lust, with the hair. Look at that, Jimmy Neutron, a.k.a. Casey Kasem as a young man. By the way, I asked, because we've got some breaking news on our local Los Angeles Dodger, or maybe erstwhile, we'll see. I asked Dan if he'd join us, but I did send you a text, didn't I, Dan?
You sent me a very ominous text, and I have a feeling, Mark, this is behind baseball, Mark. I have no idea what you're talking about, this ominous text that you're going to come after me for one of my tweets, but I'm ready for it.
I was just going to say, I followed your Twitter feed yesterday, and you were commenting somebody I consider a friend, Sean Hawley, represents Mr. Bauer. And Sean was, I assume, based on, I didn't see any live streaming, but based on the way it was being reported, that Sean was doing the cross-examination. And you were pushing back on this isn't relevant, that isn't relevant, and I don't know why this is bringing in. I beg to differ. And by the way, there's an old expression that I always get wrong, but the proof of the pudding is in the eating. The restraining order was denied, so Sean won, and the approach she took was, I think, from an evidentiary basis, defending her client spot on.
So okay. Now
okay. That you can, and like I said, don't feel bad. Push back. You know,
okay.
We're not in the office. We're kind of it's a free speech zone, right, Gary?
It's a safe zone, and Gary gave me approval that it's okay if there's some conflict. So, Mark, here's the thing: this is a temporary restraining order, which I think everyone can agree, and I think obviously at the end of the day, Sean Hawley did a great job because she cleared her client. I think there's some more steps and more hurdles to go, but this was a domestic violence restraining order, which required some indicia of a true relationship, not like a one-off type deal. So I enough people dropped in my replies and said that was the attempt. That what she was attempting to do is to show that the accuser here had a series of kind of one-off relationships with other baseball players. Now, if you have a series of one-off relationships with other baseball players, does that prevent you from having a true and serious relationship with the third baseball player? No, it doesn't. I mean,
I think it came down to two things, my analysis here. I don't know if Gary's got any of the texts. Do you have any of the texts, Gary? Or we caught Gary on kind of fighting a.
Well, before he pulls it up, can I give you one that I don't, Mark, you can explain it to me. I think this one I nailed. Okay. Trevor Bauer, he has a famous thing he does. He pitches with one eye closed. I don't know why he does it. He kind of looks like a little bit like a pirate. Okay. So there's another baseball player named Fernando.
I've been known to look at my phone with one eye closed.
Yeah, it's normal. Captain Jack does it too. It's a totally normal thing. So Trevor Bauer, he just pitches with.
By the way,
eye.
One little caveat. Lucas Kim, we've decided, has got better hair than you, Dan. So I just want to do a shout out to Lucas.
That's debatable. My hair is
his haircut is clearly better than yours. But go on.
This is a slanderous podcast, Mark.
It is. We can't even get insurance for it.
But importantly, my point was that there was a line that I think Sean Hawley crossed, and this is just me. I'm just pointing it out. That at a certain point, these past relationships, okay, maybe they're important, Mark. Maybe you can convince me of that. This one eye closed pitch, Fernando Tatis, a very famous player in the San Diego Padres, hit a homer off of Trevor Bauer at some point, and while he was walking around hitting his home run, he put his hand over his eye. So this was a big thing in baseball Twitter at some point. Okay, Fernando Tatis was making fun of Trevor Bauer. Big deal. Okay, why is this coming up? This picture was submitted as evidence in the case because at one point, I don't know if this is relevant. I don't really think it is. The accuser, at some point had a relationship with Fernando Tatis from the San Diego Padres and Trevor Bauer of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Mark, I'm going to ask you, I don't have the answer to this question. How is a picture of a guy running around after hitting a home run and covering his eye relevant to a sexual assault case? I can't figure that one out.
But wait, she apparently, if what you're telling me is true, and I'm not in the weeds as much as you, I was just listening or following your commentary. She had a relationship with Tatis?
With both players, the pitcher and the hitter.
The pitcher and the hitter. Well, the pitcher was the one who was the accused in this case.
Correct.
Okay. I can see where that's relevant. I mean, they want to identify. here's somebody who has some kind of, she's got a relationship with the prior guy. We want to show it. We want to show there's some degree of animus or something else. I can see the relevancy of that.
Mark, I think I could see the relevance, but I could also see the prejudicial effect. I have no concept of.
But remember, there's no jury, so the judge can let stuff come in, and that's most judges will. And I think this is a great technique, so to speak, for judges. Let it all come in and then give it the weight to which it deserves. It's not like you got to worry about a jury and then ringing a bell or anything else. So
Mark,
no, I wouldn't fault that. In fact, I think that the things that were most interesting to me is apparently Bauer's got some rules. You know about these rules?
The Bauer's 3 rules of dating, which closely resembles the movie if you've seen it, No Strings Attached. It's very similar.
Which is, if you're gonna don't.
Rule number 1: there is no string attached to me. Number 2, see number 1, and number 3, see number 1.
Right. Okay. Now, so that I think is relevant to the statute as well. Relevant in the sense that you're going to argue that there isn't a relationship, so to speak, because remember, in a DV restraining order, there are suggestions and elements that you've got to have a relationship. So that to me is relevant. Number 2 is apparently, did she also text knock me out or something like that?
She texted, the text that has been getting the most focus is she texted him before the encounter, give me all the pain. And then most of the subsequent text messages that have been making news in the last 24 hours are texts between her and her Alcoholics Anonymous sponsor, where she is very clearly indicating, she's being flippant with it about secure the bag and, I'm going to make it rain daily. And hey, bitch, you can give me $50 million and not slap my blank again and I'll be good. And they are incendiary. Her sponsor texting back to her, don't post on social media, you're supposed to be mentally not well, and just things that do not look good.
Right. Yeah. So that I think also goes to the element of future harm. And future fear. She's testified. I know what she testified to, but it would appear that in real time, you've got past recollection recorded of texts that would seem to indicate that there isn't the same fear that she's talking about now.
Yeah, I think, Mark, just so my final analysis was that a restraining order would not be issued here because at the end of the day,
did you tweet that?
It's on the record. I had a podcast that came out last night, but I won't promote my podcast here because this is
I'll do it. It's called Conduct Detrimental.
Listen, I
want to see this. Can we post this right now? Can I see this tweet? I want to see if you were prescient.
I'll pull it up.
You check the receipts. We posted it last night. Now, I said at the end of the day, I said, I'm not sure if they had a relationship. It's unclear to me if it's a sufficient relationship. We can, Mark, we can agree to disagree whether her past relationships and Bauer's subjective rules of dating will prevent him from having a serious relationship. I don't think it's dispositive. I think it's really what's in her head if she really subjectively felt that way. But, I think she had a lot of fun bringing up Bauer's rules, but whatever. At the end of the day, I think that the analysis came down to 3 things. Was there a true and tried relationship? I'm not really sure. Was there consent? There's 2 people in the room. If she was, and this is really the crux of the case. I don't know if we spoke about it in the last podcast. The allegation is that at some point she was rendered unconscious and she awoke and regained consciousness while he was performing a sexual act on her. So from a legal consent level, I think in California, the rule is you cannot legally consent to something that's occurring while you're unconscious because you have to be able to withdraw the consent. You have to be in that frame of mind. So I go, okay, assuming that's what occurred, the consent might not be here. But here's the thing. Gary pointed out all of those texts. I don't know if we can trust her credibility at this point. I think there's a lot of other factors involved. And then, Mark, the third one, which is where I put my analysis, I go, I have not seen one indicia that Trevor Bauer is a future threat to the accuser. As far as we know, Mark, and you talked about it on the last podcast, there was a recorded phone call between Trevor Bauer and the police with the accuser. And Trevor Bauer said, if you don't want me to call on you anymore, I won't call you anymore. So that was around the end of May. She files the restraining order at the end of June. And by all indications, Bauer had no contact with her for the 30 days leading up to the restraining order. So I don't think there was any future threat of harm. And I think that's where the analysis really kind of ended for me. I go, I don't know how you can issue a protection order if there's nothing to be protected from.
Okay. As long as there's a tweet out there and that you were early money on it.
I think he was referring to the tweets that were promoting his podcast where they were breaking it down. I'm looking through, and there are a lot of tweets about that. But
okay, well, I'm gonna say we're gonna give a prize for the first person who shows me that Lust had predicted this.
The podcast, if you want to search for it, is Conduct Detrimental. You're free to tweet me and Mark the timestamp. That would be excellent, and it might result in it might result in some extra downloads for my show, which isn't so.
I love it. So by the way, I've got to get something filed, and I've got my associates who are kind of hanging at the door here. So Dan, I appreciate it. The podcast is Conduct Detrimental. Gary, thank you so much for getting Dan on today. Because
Mark, am I still employed? Am I still employed after this? Do I still have my job?
It's okay. I'm going to give you a refresher on the evidence code.
Oh man. Take it. Mark, you're the expert. You're the godfather. I'll take all the advice I can get.
Thank you, guys. Thank you once again for listening to Beyond, and stay tuned for Saturday for another show where Adam and I will tape it in advance. But when that show drops, I think we're going to be at the Corolla Family Picnic.
Yeah, with the family barbecue, the sold-out family barbecue. Might we be doing our Reasonable Doubt in the newly refreshed studio with both of you?
It could be.
Ooh, all right. Fingers crossed. Well, we'll look forward to that. Thank you guys both so much for joining us, and we'll see you on Saturday for the best hour in the universe.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Beyond a Reasonable Doubt. Stay tuned for more bonus episodes coming soon.